If you or a loved one is about to go under surgery of some kind, stay tuned for this important information about impaired surgeons in our nation's operating rooms. You may not be aware of it, but it does happen all too frequently. And to shed light on that, I've asked Kay Van Wey, a very experienced and talented plaintiff lawyer from Dallas, Texas, to join us today because she's very experienced in this area. Hi, Kay.
Hi, Mike. How are you?
Doing great, thanks. Boy, this is an important topic, and it's really shocking to know that there are actually doctors operating on people in an impaired state, whether, I guess, from drugs or alcohol. Can you bring us up to date on that and what's been happening lately?
Yes, I can. It's, as you can imagine, it's every patient and patient's family's worst nightmare to think that the surgeon operating on them or their loved one could be impaired by virtue of drugs, alcohol, or mental illness.
Oh, wow.
And yet, this is a growing problem in the medical field. For so long, as long as I've been practicing law, which is 30 years, and I'm sure it's been a lot longer than that, hospitals have pretty much been able to operate in complete secrecy. What they do within their doors in terms of credentialing their physicians, reviewing their physicians, drug testing physicians, disciplining them, can all happen behind closed doors, and the public, as in the patient, isn't privy to any of that.
My goodness.
In addition, there is a federal law that requires hospitals to report bad doctors to a super secret national data bank. It's called the National Practitioner Data Bank. But what is happening all too frequently is that an impaired physician, or sometimes it can just be just a really bad doctor who's not impaired, gets in trouble at one hospital, hurts patients, kills patients, and rather than the hospital doing what they're supposed to do, which is to report the physician to the National Data Bank so that the physician can't go to another hospital, they would do what I call plea bargaining. So it's like, look, we don't want to make trouble for you, doctor. Why don't you just resign? We won't report you. You go on about your merry way, and you're not our problem anymore.
Yeah.
Public Citizen, which, as you know, Mike, is a fabulous consumer safety organization, they did a nationwide study and really highlighted this problem, showing that most hospitals underreport.
Okay.
And the whole reason this national data bank was created is so that hospitals could have a way of communicating with one another in secret so that bad doctors didn't get passed from hospital to hospital to hospital.
Right.
There was a move which got squashed pretty quickly to make the data bank accessible to the public, which would really be great because why shouldn't the patient know if the doctor has been disciplined at the hospital or has injured people before? I mean, shouldn't we know that?
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you, I can go on Yelp and tell if a restaurant gives good service or not. Why can't I find out about the doctor who's about to operate on me?
Exactly. And I've actually been involved in some cases with impaired physicians where my clients were telling me that they were so proud of what educated consumers they were because they went on the internet and they checked everything that they could. But that's just the point. There were so many things that they couldn't have known, and they were just literally a lamb being led to the slaughter because the hospital knew, but they didn't know.
Just awful. Well, what can consumers do about this case? Sounds kind of scary, and is there anything that can be done?
Well, the best thing that could happen is that some of these laws could be changed. For example, I know there either is now or was some legislation that was introduced in California to make doctors undergo mandatory drug testing. Just like, I don't think you can drive a school bus without subjecting yourself to drug screens. And they wanted doctors to do the same. I'm not sure what the status of that legislation is, but I think doctors ought to be subjected to drug screening.
Well, actually, we were active in supporting Proposition 46 in California last fall. Sadly, it lost 2-1, and we were out financed about 10-1 on that. And you're right, one of the requirements was simply that Doctors have random drug testing. I mean, you can't drive a school bus, you can't play professional football, you can't do all kinds of things, but you can operate on somebody and not be drug tested. Just crazy. So I guess write our Congress people is the answer. Get the laws changed.
It is, and I guess just also getting a second opinion to make sure that the procedure that's being recommended for you is a good idea.
Yeah.
Try to get references from doctors and not just rely on advertising or what you might see on the web.
Yeah. Or maybe even ask for, one of the things I do in business is I ask for references. Can I talk to 3 of your other customers who can tell me they had a good experience with you? Maybe patients could do that.
That's the hardest question you've ever asked me, Mike, is what can the patient do?
Yeah.
Because I'm kind of saying, not a lot.
Yeah.
We really, really are kept in the dark.
Well, we need to support Public Citizen and Public Justice Foundation, these other groups who are doing the hard work in the trenches and taking on those cases to try to push for a change in the laws. Well, Kay, if somebody wanted to talk with you about that, maybe it's a case in Texas that they think that they or a loved one might have, how would they reach you?
Probably the most direct way to reach me is just to send me an email.
Okay.
My email is Kay@VanWeyLaw, VANWEY law.com.
Okay.
Check my emails all the time, probably more than I should.
Great.
And just reach out to me personally.
So once it's already happened, there are some legal avenues that can be pursued occasionally, I suppose.
That's a very complicated subject. The laws are there to protect the hospitals from being sued.
Wow.
In Texas, for example, we have an actual malice standard for credentialing. It's called malicious credentialing. So a hospital can be negligent or grossly negligent, but still not be civilly liable.
Wow.
And so they are very difficult cases to pursue, but it varies from state to state.
I see. Well, thanks for being willing to shed some light on this very important topic, and thanks for being willing to speak to our viewers as well if they have a question or a follow-up. Kay, as always, great to speak with you. Thanks for the great work you do in your community.
You too, Mike. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thanks for watching. Send your questions or comments to Michael at mike@howdavidbeatsgoliath.com.